And we are live. Welcome back to this week's installment of the Mecca of Banter. I am your host this week, Young Yid Andy Hoover, tapping in with the always ever exciting Spurs season. Doesn't matter if you're 16th or if you're 4th, they're entertaining. There's no way around it. They're always up in the headlines. Can't seem to get rid of us, whether or not you'd like to.
like
Not
a
getting
like a rash.
mathematically safe from relegation. Big day for the kids. Yeah, tapping in. What's going on? Let's check in with the boyos. Winks, how we doing, brother?
What it do? No, good weekend for the Gooners over here. Not so much for St. Louis City. Um, good, decent. I don't know. It's it's been on top of City being having the least amount of goals in the MLS right now. This weather has been like super rainy and super humid here in St. Louis for those that don't live here. So I'm ready for a string of nice weather weeks and St. Louis to start scoring some goals. Because that's really the only team in my life that isn't doing well at the moment. But I'm happy to be here.
Must be nice. I wish I could say the same. Actually, they just compound on my feelings about football every week. So, Nikki, what's going on with you, my man?
You know, I feel like we're all a little hungover from our Easter Sunday. Happy Easter, boys. Happy belated Easter.
True.
Um, I was about to have the worst Easter ever, and then the last 10 minutes drastically changed my entire mood and day. So I ended up having a great Sunday. 3 points from Chelsea is always a good weekend for me. I know St. Louis City cannot find the net, which is never good. But I didn't have to watch much of that. I was at dinner with the future in-laws, and so I
Hey.
could not tap in. And I saw the scoreline and was like, I don't even need to watch the highlights. There was no goals. So I don't have any comments on it other than that we can't score goals. But as always, you can find me at Higgy4 on Twitter. I'm pumped to be here at Capitalism.
Yeah, and Nikki is actually the only reason that we have anything to talk about in the Premier League itself. So, congrats for that. I guess that's there's a
Small win.
conversation to be had.
Small win.
Yep, small wins. Dopes. New dad. What's going on, brother?
What's going on? I feel like honestly, you can just like interchange like Hoove and I at any given moment this year. It's just like the up and down. Like we're literally just in a race to who can have the most losses by a Big Six team ever. And we just keep. I texted him this. We just keep topping each other. Like we keep losing, then they keep losing. But to be honest, fellas, the Prem doesn't matter. This year might as well be a wash. The Prem has completely lost its juice. Who gives a shit who wins? It's all about Europe. I mean, us four here. This is the big four now, fellas. This is the big four. All of us are European semifinalists. So whatever happened this past weekend does not matter, fellas. I'm still riding very much on a high from Harry Maguire's last minute winner. I have watched the highlights from Thursday probably at least 100 times, and that's not even remotely exaggerating. But good to see you, boys. Happy to be back.
Good to have you. Always a good squad we got. We are all European finalists, semifinalists. Depending on what level we actually consider it. Yeah, it's the stat is true. The merit is not as strong in your case, but you can only play the teams. You can only play the teams in front of you. We talk
That's
about it all
so
the time.
true.
Before we dip into the European matches, and I know Winks will kind of just speed through a little bit because turns out not much to talk about on the St. Louis City front. 0-0 loss against top of the table Vancouver. Without really just hammering down on just like consistently not scoring goals and stuff. I will start as a devil advocate before we get too far into this. We looked better. We looked better. There felt like some progress. We had Henry Kessler was a surprise omission from the starting lineup. Truthfully, boys, I absolutely hammered Vancouver and the over. And guess who didn't get either of those bets? Me. So, I deserved that. That's okay. The back line, all things considered, didn't let up any. I was never really all that scared of Vancouver. They didn't ever, There wasn't moments where I was like, man, they're putting it to us like Columbus did. There were multiple times Columbus was just buzzing.
Columbus was a lot better team, I think.
I think so too. The points don't lie. Vancouver was top, but not a team that I was, watching the game. At least I was scared originally, but they didn't. They didn't. They didn't impress me.
Yeah.
Anyone else kind of chip in on this one, or
From the boys.
I think the biggest thing from this one is, I mean, it's like beating the same drum that we've been texting about and talking about for weeks. It's the lack of scoring goals, and I know that we're still the team that's conceded the fewest amount of goals in the entire league. But like when you just look at the results, it's like we did this whole like these ties will come back to help us eventually, but at the same time, it's like should have beat a Sporting Kansas City team. Like had a few chances last week against Columbus, let it slip. I think goals should have stood this weekend against kind of a weird offsides call that still makes absolutely no sense to me. That was a great finish by Hartle. I don't know. It's frustrating, and I think what's even worse is our injury list just continues to just seem to get longer. And I was happy we kept the 0, but at the same time, I think I said it 2 weeks ago when I was last on, like just like entertain me a little bit, like even remotely, like make me excited to watch a game, because it's like I have a bunch of friends that are neutrals that went to the game that it's the same thing. It's like, why do we keep putting ourselves through this?
Yeah, I'm starting to get a little worried for the crowds. If I remember correctly, I was also there. I didn't hear them announce a St. Louis City sellout. So probably one of the only games that I've been to that it wasn't. And, the weather issue was a whole factor. But really, man, there's just not a lot to get up and going on these guys right now. And I think things change when guys come back healthy. Obviously, I think we add minimum 2 points on our last stretch of 5 with Roman Berkey between the sticks. Durkin's going to be out till June. We're running low on just general midfield players.
I really was just trying to look up like any updates on Roman Berkey. It says early.
He was training, I think.
Like, yeah, I saw he was training. I didn't know if they announced like an official game that he was expected to be back, and it doesn't look like they have.
I mean,
I'm impressed.
Still no update on Lewin either.
Yeah.
No, and to be honest, honestly, I think we're all just hoping for the best for that position and what he has going on. We don't know anything, but it's not a great sign when he's healthy, not suspended, not in the match day, not on the squad. That's concerning, given the history of things. But, gosh, it would be great to see Alm come back. I'd love to see Alm maybe slide into a wing-back position. I think our wing-backs, outside of Wallum, who is really the only guy that can move the ball forward, Watts is not as great. I'm having a hard time with Watts right now in general. He's got to play. I'm looking forward to Jaden Reed coming back in. I think he could slot into one of those wing-back positions really, really well. He was a surprise last year. But, again, I think, the lack of substitutions is aggravating. There's no reason to me that Ostrak couldn't have come in that game. Thomas Totland was on the bench, which was great. Didn't get to see him. I think that's probably precautionary. We're just thin right now, and having a coach that prioritizes sitting deep and defensive action is fine when you're Jose Mourinho and you get 3 points out of it. It's not fine when the fans in St. Louis grew to expect and watch this electric press, Gegen press style that we were scoring goals, to being buttoned up at the back, which again, Nick and I were the first to say we think that's fantastic, but we got to start scoring goals, dude. Doesn't matter. I just week in and week out, so lackluster going forward. And yeah, man, really, like, not too much to say. I think Klaus was good again. I don't think he was lights out by any means. I have a hard time with Toychert on the right. Guy can't play more than 60 minutes. He played 70 last week. And frankly, Hartle is a shell of himself without Edu next to him. He just doesn't have the freedom to roam and get forward as much as he does with a more competent ball playing box to box eight.
We like hinder his best qualities when he has to play as a deep lying playmaker.
Yeah.
He needs to be in and around the box. I mean, he did get up for the chance where the goal should have stood, but you can just tell he's comfortable just because he's just a technically great player, but he's just a little bit wasted when he has to play that deep. But to be honest, like I was just looking at our bench from the game, and like if you're looking for impact subs, it's dire out there.
Yeah. And honestly, it's Ostrak, in my opinion. I am face melted as to why he couldn't get on the pitch for Morales, at least just to provide something. And it's like, it's 0-0. You're at home. Last 20 minutes. Why aren't we just going for it? Like, I'm cool with, stretching play a little bit. But he's a guy that's going to get in the midfield, dominate the ball, and find a pass wide and progress everything forward. Morales isn't doing that. I will say, I texted Dobes on the goal action. Morales had a ping out wide to Salio, and if that's going to be an avenue that we need to use more, then do it. Like long balls to the wide players. It's super aggravating. No one was amazing. I thought Josh Yarrow actually was awesome. When those are the guys that you're shouting out on a 0-0 draw, then okay, so be it. But
Hebert's spin move with the ball has to be noted.
Crazy. Did not know he had that in the locker. Did not know that. And Ben Lunt was good, again. And again, I think he's playing the role that he's asked to play as well as he can with the skill set he's got available and the back line that plays in front of him. So, silver linings, it's getting better. I've said this the last two games, the next five matches. I'm resetting that clock back to the next five matches. We just got to see some progress. We got to see something get better. We got to see goals. These 0-0 draws are going to drive me insane. And the rest of St. Louis, because we're European snob purists. Like, frankly, in the scheme of things, this was an okay result for us, looking at the table and looking at the competition and what we've had going the last couple of weeks. But it still sucks. Nobody likes a 0-0 draw, especially Americans. So, gonna need to do something about that. But really, not a whole lot else to chat on. It looked better. Wasn't great. Hopefully we can turn things around against LAFC next week. But before my friend Winks over there has to drop from the pod, we got to talk some Champions League. We had some wild. This is some of the most fun I think I've had watching the Champions League in a while. Like, all things considered, there's been some great matchups.
I forgot it happened.
Games. I know it feels like a month ago.
Forever ago.
It does. Yeah, even the second leg does.
Even the second leg. But Winks, you guys went to the Bourbonau and took a 2-1.
I'm not giving you that one, man.
The what?
The Bourbonau.
Take it away.
The Bernabeu. Bayou.
The Bernabeu.
Our playground, no matter what you call it.
Gundogan.
Gadun.
Sorry, I'm an American. Roast me. Get on the TikTok comments.
No.
It only helps us, so.
No, you're good. Yeah, a 2-1 victory for the Gooners. 5-1 on aggregate now. Moving on to play PSG in the Champions League semifinals. So a pretty big deal for a guy over here who hasn't seen his club get that far in the Champions League in a long, long time. I knew that this game, Real Madrid was going to come out. They needed to score at least 4 goals. So I knew that they were going to be, flying at us. And I think when we didn't have the ball, we did a good job of sort of dropping into that, like 4-5-1, Marino dropping into the false 9 when we didn't have the ball. But what I didn't expect was how often they were going to choose to cross the ball instead of play through the middle. I think they had something like 35 crosses throughout the game, which is absurd. And I think that's excluding set pieces. and having nothing to show for it, I think is a big deal at home for them. But on a lot of those crosses and set pieces, our center backs were clearing almost all of them. Marino was unbelievable. I feel like he gets better and better up top every single game, which I fully, wasn't expecting when we first said we were going to put him up top earlier this year. But
Havertz.
There's a conversation to be had.
They're 100%. Yeah. No,
about
if I'm Arteta, I'm not putting Havertz back in until we sign somebody over the summer who will probably replace them both. But like his hold up play was great. Defensively on Madrid set pieces, he was phenomenal. Like looked super comfortable, like he's back in his 6-8 position. But obviously having both assists to our away goals was crazy, and just something, again, if you would have asked me at the beginning of the season, I would have told you there's no fucking way Marino bags a goal and 2 assists in 2 legs in the Champions League quarters against Real Madrid. That's wild. So I was obviously geeked for him and for the team. Unfortunate that Saka missed that big moment penalty. The Panenka was a little bold on that keeper, but clearly it didn't affect him because he scored a Panenka on him in open play a little bit later in the game. So I guess he had to get it in somehow. But I think
That was an insane call. Both those pens.
Yeah, I know.
So
it was
dumb. Very dumb.
It wasn't even.
I think neither should have been.
Yeah.
The problem.
And
And to call back Kylian Mbappe's on a pretty similar situation, I think it may have been a little bit softer, but I do think he was closer to the play. You either do both or you don't do either.
Yeah.
Neither should have been a pen.
Yeah. And I didn't touch on that because nothing came from either of them. If we had scored ours and then Mbappe wouldn't have gotten his, then I would have made a comment on it. But yeah, as far as I'm concerned, neither happened. But I think the last thing that I want to touch on about this game before I have to bounce is that I think for our club and kind of where we've been the last 3-4 seasons competing in the league and not getting anywhere, I think that this second leg specifically was a big statement game for our club because the Bernabeu is a fortress. We're playing in the Champions League and Madrid's backs are against the wall. Remontada or whatever, however you say it. I think that for Arsenal to go to their home turf and beat them straight up in 2 legs is just really, really good for our momentum. And I think no, it's not a trophy, and you can say hang it in the rafters all you want, but I feel like this is a big milestone, trophies excluded, for our club to beat this team in 2 straight matches, and in this tournament nonetheless. So I think that as far as momentum going into the next round against a very, very strong PSG team, I think that having won both of those games is very important versus, losing 2-0 and, winning by 1 on aggregate, if that makes sense.
The last time a London team did it, they won the whole thing. So,
brother, I will say too, and I know you got to jump, but PSG is built exactly like Real Madrid, which bodes well for Arsenal.
100%. Yeah, I think that if we can keep, their back line isn't as tremendous, but their front 5 are very dangerous, and Kiwior has been playing well, but I think we could see, we have potential to see how important having Gabriel in that back line next to Saliba could be if they find a way to exploit him. But anyways, move on. Come on, you Gunners.
Congrats on that.
Thanks, lads.
All right, so we all want them to get murdered by PSG, right?
Absolutely. I mean,
100%.
definitely.
100%.
I need a Dembele hat trick in the first 30.
Rinks is gonna listen to this back and be like, "God damn it!"
vote.
Well, it's so weird too because like the vibe on like football Twitter is genuinely no one's rooting for Arsenal. Like the globe is honestly like PSG and Barcelona have a chance to save football this year.
100.
Like
Griff keeps giving me the. Don't you want another English team to do what? No, absolutely. I would rather anybody else but an English team. Like, I will say though, like the way that Arsenal's going to do it is exactly how they played Madrid. They're a team that is very defensively sound. Like Madrid is at their best when they're running in behind, playing on the counterattack with 3 athletic forwards. And Arsenal just didn't allow them to do that. And it is kind of scary because it's exactly how PSG is built. They don't have a number 9. Dembele plays through the middle. They have Dewey and Kavachakaka out left to where both play, like all 3 of them. But for real, they like to play in behind. And that's why they were so exposed.
I do think it means a little bit more to PSG than it did to Real Madrid. I think Real Madrid was comfortable. They've been there. They've done that. They've won a bunch. Like, I don't think they were as hungry as they normally have been. But I feel like PSG not having won in ever, right? PSG's never won.
I don't think. I think that between them and Barcelona are 2 of the best teams in the world right now, like without a doubt.
My last thought on this game, and a little bit of it is credit to Arsenal. They forced Madrid to play a style and system that they're not amazing at. But that being considered, they were not great, dude. They were
terrible
average.
both legs.
Both legs.
I'm not impressed by them at all.
And to be fair, I don't know if you guys watched it. I mean, you guys probably didn't watch them. They played Bilbao yesterday. I only watched them because United plays Bilbao, and they struggled against Bilbao the entire game. And it took a Valverde fucking 93rd minute wonder goal to beat Bilbao. Like they've been very average for what seems like a couple weeks. And I think Barca's up by 6 points on them, 4 points or something in the league now.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's all but confirmed, but Ancelotti's leaving.
Yeah, I mean. It's going to suck because I think Xavi's going to be so good there.
Did that get locked in on?
Xavi would be very good there, Dobes.
I think that's well. They said that Leverkusen's president came up and said that they're not going to prevent him from going to manage at a club that he's played for before, which essentially leaves Liverpool, Bayern, Madrid.
Yeah, and one of those teams is going to win a championship under some bald guy that no one knew 6 months ago. So. Moving on, a couple of those other games we'll just glance on. The Villa PSG match was electric, absolutely electric, and frankly, they left it tight. Like there was a world where PSG could have absolutely blown that.
No, I agree.
Villa's good, man. Villa's fucking fun to watch.
Rashford and some freedom, man.
Hell yeah, baby! Fucking drive that price tag through the roof.
You guys, you said it, Dobes, but like it was a little vintage from him. That slip through the legs, nutmeg, drive to the corner, slot back.
Brother, there gets a point where it's like if I had to pick a team that I wanted to win the Champions League, it was 100% Villa. Like I still love Marcus, but like sometimes the pressure in what happens from being at United for as long as he has, like he needs a fresh start. And I don't think he ends up staying at Villa. I think he wants to move to a bigger club, but right now it seems like it was a match made in heaven, and they were really, really fucking close to tying that. If not, and I think if they would have tied it, I think they would have gone on to win it.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah,
momentum would have been with them.
Yep, absolutely. Dortmund did their best to try and come back against Barcelona, but they did not go through on a 5-3 aggregate. The only other game, Inter and Bayern. My man couldn't do it. He tried his best. Harry Kane, big game player, bagged one in the beginning. Inter are disgusting, and I think they're an absolute force. I truthfully believe
we haven't talked about them enough.
No, they're quietly having an incredible season, and I think they could put Barca to the sword, dude. Like we are.
I think all the teams like Inter's the good matchup against Barca.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's a good point. They will play them really tight, and Barca scores, at will, but Inter scores when they need to. It's really, really impressive with the amount of chances they had.
Wednesday, Coppa Italia, Inter AC Milan in the final.
Oh, well, AC Milan's basically the Italian Tottenham, so we all kind of know how that one's going to go. So yeah, well, that'll be super exciting. I think Inter and Barca are going to be an excellent matchup. PSG and Arsenal are going to be awesome too. We're looking forward to these. So sliding on over to the Europa League, the Thursday night special, you could say. We'll go with Dobes first. They had quite the turnaround against Lyon in a game that should have been done and dusted. They did not dust it or put it to bed, and they left it until the last 10 minutes of extra time.
Insane game. If you did not
Insane. If you've not watched these highlights, truthfully.
As a person who doesn't support either club, oh my God, what a watch.
This game, this is one of those that like, and I won't even do it. I'm not even going to get into the details of the flow of the game and us being up to nothing, because to me it does not matter. Like when there's the emotions that go through that game with quite literally, you guys are going to think I'm exaggerating, but like the next 5 years of United kind of rely on us winning the Europa League. Like for real. Like if we win the Europa League and make Champions League, like Gyökeres, in my opinion, is a lock. Like he's gonna sign for us. It gives us an extra 20 to 50 million to spend on players. But even without that impact, it's just like there's something fucking special that happens at that stadium, and man, that's why every fan keeps being like, "Don't fucking tear it down." Because even when it went 4-2, like the stadium was in those poor 1,000 fans that left, but the stadium was still like ringing with chants right after that, and you just knew that like. Once the PK got back, like the PK went in, Hen and I were texting each other like, they won't, will they? They fucking won't, will they? And it was just like bang, bang, bang. And after that, you know what I mean? It's what makes you fucking fall in love with the sport, you know? Like we've been a team of moments for so many, what feels like years in a row in terms of just like special moments. I won't ever say that that's going to top 99 coming back from down 1-0 in 3 minutes to win the Champions League, because it's to win the Champions League. But it's very hard to top a comeback like that in that fashion, 2 goals in a minute and a half. The announcer couldn't even finish saying, we still have penalties yet, and then they fucking scored again.
Yeah.
Like, I think we can beat Bilbao. I'm scared to death to play Spurs in the finals. I know Hoove kind of feels the same way, but, I mean, fuck, fellas. We still got something to play for, which I think is probably all I could ask for moving forward.
A Spurs United final would just be so fucking funny. Oh my word!
I was asking everybody, and everybody's like, they'd have to root for United because who would want Spurs to win a trophy?
No, I honestly, I was just about to say this. I think this would be the most Spurs thing if they won the Europa League and then they fired Ange. Like I like that would be the most Spurs thing ever.
It's 100% on the table, too.
I know. I think that's going to happen.
Absolutely on the table. But before we stroll over to Spurs, I for the folks that did not watch or follow much of the Europa, I will read you the box score here.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Ugarte, 10-minute goal. Dallo,
we were
40,
so good in the first half, too. We were so
right,
good in the first half.
Could have dusted it easily. The build up to the Ugarte goal, I will say, was slick. And
what was the aggregate at this point when they're up 2-0?
4-2.
4-2.
They came back from Lyon 2-2 tied, and then really it didn't feel it was just eventually Lyon was going to get one. You guys kind of just let them back into the game. Tolisso 71, Tagliafico 78. So then
red card.
Red card right before the end of the 90 for Tolisso, and then you go in tied at 4-4 aggregate, 2 extra time, and Turkey scores a sizzler, dude. 105th minute. I let out a Gary Neville in my room by myself watching the game. That was a screamer. And then boneheaded play from I forgot his name.
Luke Shaw.
The guy Luke Shaw. He's been out for so long. I forgot he played for the club. Tackles someone for a penalty. Lacazette converts 110th minute. So at this point, it is 4-2, 6-4 on aggregate.
I thought it was
Bruno Fernandes tucks a pen that was, in my opinion, rightly called on Casemiro. It was.
So Casemiro, draws a pen, 2 assists.
Yeah. That he pulled out his Real Madrid form a little bit with whatever old legs he's got left. Bruno Fernandes tucks the pen. Kobe Mano, classic in-swinger ball to the back post, 120th minute. 120 plus one. We're lobbing balls up to Harry Maguire at the back post, and his striker instinct movement to get that ball across the net into the back corner.
He posted on Instagram with Kobe. What he said, his caption was like, "My strike partner." What's crazy is people just it's tough to forget, but like the first leg we win 2-0 if Onana quite literally doesn't shit on himself.
Yeah,
like we win 2-0, and then we were up 2-0 again in this leg.
Onana was the happiest man after that result.
Then we shit on ourselves. Then we shit on ourselves again. I don't know, man. And the crazy thing is we had no one on the bench. Our front two were Emery at halftime of extra time went Kobe Manu and Harry Maguire up top, and it fucking worked.
It worked, and there were scenes. It was ridiculous, to be honest. I did not think that was going to happen, but I agree. As soon as that penalty went in from Bruno, things changed. There was a vibe that the stadium felt that they could do it. So, good on you. Welcome to a semifinal in a European competition. Spurs also happen to pull it out. Maybe their best result of the year. 1-0 against Frankfurt away at Frankfurt. Hostile environment. It was, from my point of view, the most mature performance Spurs have had this year. It was by no means a sizzler of a match or anything like that, but for the fact that the keeper got to stay on the pitch after just absolutely annihilating James Maddison on a slipped run from a ball in from Romero, he knew he was just going to get clattered. The guy blew straight through his face. Penalty. Dom Solanke actually tucks it. I was really happy for him and the composure to put that one away. But then we saw something that we've not seen Spurs do in the past, boys. We buttoned up. He subbed off an attacking player and subbed on Kevin Danso to play through the middle of the pitch at the end of the game, and it worked. It worked. It was the coolest thing ever. Ange went against everything that he's ever preached about. That's just who we are. Who we were that day was doing a full Mourinho, blocking it in the last 20 minutes, and it actually worked. So, I was geeked, very much so geeked, and happy that it finished in 90 instead of having to go to extra time and pens potentially. Vicario's current form has been laughable as well, so that did not make me feel great. But, we've got United and Athletic Club in the semifinal on their end of the bracket, and Spurs will play Bodo Glimt, who are the Norwegian champions, and they play in the Arctic Circle on an artificial turf pitch.
Have fun with that, brother.
So that sounds terrible.
Bro, wild. I just looked it up. I guess the Norwegian season just started.
Yeah, they
played 4 games.
They play the opposite calendar.
Yeah, it's wild. Yeah, they've played 4 games so far in the league.
And
they play in the Europa League. Do they just play in the Europa League in the
Yeah. That's the only thing they play. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They play outside of their season.
So they're probably just healthy as fuck.
Probably, I guess. I'm all studied up on Bodo Glimt now that we have to play them in the semi. But they're out 2 players for yellow card accumulation, and their backup striker got hurt. So for the first leg in Tottenham, we gotta have goals because they clubbed Lazio 2-0 at home, and then snuck 1 goal in to force extra time and go to penalties at Lazio in Rome, and get through on the tie. So it would be more Spurs than winning and sacking their manager, losing to Bodo Glimt in the semifinal of the Europa League. That would be Spursy.
I'm trying to look, but I think their only win, it looks like, in the Europa League, besides ties, because they tied a bunch, was Porto back in September, and then Lazio this past week.
Wild.
And yeah,
Besiktas 2-1, but still, there's not a lot. There's not a lot.
No, and if you ask any Spurs fan if they were confident, they'd still tell you no. Look at the history of what we've done.
He'd be immediately sacked if you guys lost.
Oh, 100%. No question. Yeah, absolutely. He could for sure be sacked. I think he might get sacked if we lose the first leg or if we don't win the first leg.
I was gonna ask this. It might be a really out there one, but do you think they would like sack him before the final? Like you guys make the final, he sacks him before.
Well,
It's the most Spursy thing of all time.
we've done it. Yeah, we sacked Jose
They've
Mourinho
done
before
it,
the
yeah.
Carabao Cup final against Man City.
I was just.
I don't think it would have to be a pretty extreme situation for that to happen, in my opinion. Like, if they've given him this long already, why would we be something else? But
Are you guys home or away the first leg?
home the first leg, which in this scenario I think helps a ton. Like
It probably does.
taking a big lead to the Arctic Circle is going to help guys.
What a sentence.
On an artificial turf pitch, because as far as I remember, the only other game that they played on artificial turf this year was Tamworth in the FA Cup, where we had to go to extra time. So,
And for our listeners, no soccer field should be artificial turf.
no. Do the Norwegians in the Arctic Circle probably have to have it be turf? Yes. If there's going to be an argument,
Get a dome.
Yeah. Have you seen their stadium, dude? It's got I think it seats like 10,000.
Yeah, City Park is way nicer.
Oh yeah, dude.
Way nicer.
Oh yeah, and it's right on the bay of whatever town they're in, and it looks miserably cold all the time. So that's going to be awesome. I'm sure they're going to have a lot of fun with that. But there's been a lot of Spurs fans on Twitter booking flights to Bilbao. So I'm hoping for the best. I don't want to play United either, to be totally honest. Like, it's hard to beat a team 4 times in the same season. Like, we've had one good game, I think, against each other, and the other 2 were just vomiting all over each other, and, just you guys kind of let us score goals. So it's going to be, if it's Spurs United, dude, 1, I'm not hanging out with you guys. We are absolutely not going to Amsterdam. You will not see me in public. I'm going to be watching that game by myself in the dark, standing up in the corner. But if we play an athletic club, I'll go public. I'll get to Amsterdam with the lads. But yeah, that's going to make for an interesting one. I'm happy to be here at this point. The same way Dobe said, there's something to play for at this point, or else I probably wouldn't have even watched us play, Nottingham Forest today. So. Looking forward to that. And then really the only other thing we got to chat on is Nikki and the Chelsea lads. They had a loss to Liga Warsaw on Thursday as well. Still go through on aggregate at home, I will say. Yeah, Nick, there were some people that were not happy with that.
No, and I'm going to be honest. When I saw the lineup that was produced, I was a little nervous for our 3-0 lead. And that's never a great feeling going into a game at home at the Bridge. But I will say, midfield of Drewsbury Hall and Reece James, I'm sorry, just isn't it. I love Reece James, will always love Reece James. He's lost a step. I want him just to play right back. He doesn't need to be in the midfield. Maresca is adamant on him being a midfielder for us in the future. I don't know if I agree with that. And Drewsbury Hall may have been one of the worst signings ever because I don't like watching him play at all. And anytime Christopher Nkunku's in our front 3, that's never fun. And we relied on Cucurella to score us a goal once again. I'm okay with that as long as he keeps scoring goals in the league as well, because if he finds it, I'm okay with it. We had Achipong play right back for us, and I thought he looked okay. His FOTMOB rating's a 6.5, but I didn't think he played that bad. I don't think he was brilliant by any means. The other dark spot in our game was Cole Palmer. He did not look good at all, was actually subbed off. I don't know if that was more so saving him or him just not looking good, but I didn't think he looked impressive in any way. But we move. We now play a team that I can't pronounce. Djurgården?
Djurgården. Djurgården.
Not sure who they are. I think I said it on one of the pods. All these games I'm so stressed out about because we're like must wins. Like every team we play is like nothing to lose whatsoever. So
They
it's
are
always
12th
fun.
in the Swedish league.
Okay.
Who also just started their league.
Yeah,
Oh, sick.
4 games in.
Sick.
Yep.
Sick. So who knows? Who knows what'll happen? I'm
Fresh
hoping.
mid-table Swedishman. Is
I'm
who you got
hoping.
coming up.
I'm hoping for the best. But we are, like we started this pod, we are in a semifinal of a European competition. I'm not going to complain about that. And if we win this, we will be the first club in history to win all 3. So I think that's kind of cool.
But winning the Conference League to qualify for the Europa League, only to finish in a Europa League spot in the Prem, would be fucking hilarious.
Would be quite funny, and I would absolutely hate it. But that is a great transition into the Prem, because that is another stressful time.
Hallelujah, you guys won. Won't finish below 15th. Got to pay $25 million for Sancho. Hallelujah.
With that, honestly, I'll take it. I don't mind Sancho at all. I don't think he's bad, and honestly, I think he's probably better than Mudryk, if I'm being completely honest. I think that could be probably up for debate. Just
Bar's pretty low here these days, it sounds like.
Hey, I'll take it. But we are in a very, very heated Champions League race in the Premier League, so every game means so much. And our game against Fulham this weekend, if you guys didn't watch it, was very, very drastic, and I was on the edge of my seat for most of it. Fulham is not a bad team. I think you guys can agree. I want to start off by Anthony Robinson is by far the best American footballer out there. Like, I don't really think it's that close. Like, I think he's so freaking good. It's insane. He had Madwicki in his pocket for majority of the first half. He was subbed at half because of how poorly he was playing. But it was interesting. I liked, unlike the game before, I liked this lineup when it first came out. Like, if you were to tell me if I had to make our lineup for us, the only change I might do is Gusto instead of Reese. But like I told you guys before, the fact that he was playing right back made me excited. And I was like, hopefully he'll actually just play right back. But I was in fact wrong. We looked awful in the first half. Reese was playing in the midfield. Madwicki was doing nothing for us out wide. And honestly, I was super nervous going into halftime because I've been on this pod saying that Maresca is not very good at making game time decisions. So I was not hoping for anything. But his 2 subs and bringing on it was Sancho and Gusto at halftime was, I think, the momentum that we needed. Obviously, it took us a little bit to score in the 83rd and the 93rd. But like for the majority of the second half, we had possession and we were dangerous on their net. We should have had a couple more. I think Cole could have had 2 or 3, but he just wasn't finishing. I didn't think he played bad at all. He obviously didn't get an assist or a goal, but I think his impact in our team is definitely there. The first goal from Fulham was a mistake from Reece James, so like that just kind of shows him in the midfield is not where he needs to be. Pedro Neto's goal to win it in the 93rd, absolute banger. I think Leno maybe should have got a hand on it, but he hit it so hard it's almost one of those reaction saves. But that definitely made me shout in my living room and got the juices going because it was definitely 3 points that we needed. I also think Jadon Sancho played well coming on. He didn't have an assist or a goal, but I think his impact was definitely evident when he was subbed in at halftime. Also, Tyreek George, youngster, getting his first Premier League goal for Chelsea. I think he is going to be special for us. He's only 19 years old, and I think it's just a confidence builder for him moving forward. So super pumped for him. But yeah, it's an electric race for Champions League right now. I was telling you guys before the pod, we still have to play Forest. We still have to play Newcastle. So like those are teams that those games will directly decide who's going to be in Champions League next year. So my season is definitely not over, and I'm nervous every weekend.
Yeah, for reference, there is 3 points separating Villa in 7th and Nottingham Forest in 3rd. This year, more in not like other years, fifth place, we did get the coefficient. England got the coefficient, so that fifth place will also go to the Champions League this year. So a little bit of a buffer for you, Nikki, there.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, so tight.
Yeah. One thing before you move on, and I forgot I didn't bring this up because it's the most important part. Anthony Taylor should not have a fucking job. After this game, I went online, found another petition that was with 500,000 signs, and I signed that because that man should not be a referee in the Prem. It is literally laughable, and I'm gonna beat that one till it happens.
To credit to you, you have beat that drum. That is not a new stance that you've just come up with. Yeah, big win for you guys there. Really, the only other piece to chat on in the Premier League. Liverpool can win the title on Wednesday with a Arsenal loss. I don't believe a draw will win it for them. But Crystal Palace beats Arsenal. It is done and dusted. Liverpool mathematically win the title.
Okay, so we then play Liverpool after that. Do you guys think if they win the title, they sit people?
They got nothing else to play for. I don't know why they would.
Yeah, I mean, no, I don't. They might be hungover. That's the best case, I think.
The Prem lost its juice, man, for real. Like take the banter aside from Liverpool, but like there used to be like last year, and this has nothing to do with United being bad. I still watch every game. Last year, if fucking Everton played Wolves at 6:30 in the morning, I was up watching. Yeah. Like this year, like I could not care less about many of the games. I mean, like I guess the top four race is good.
That's how I was last year with Chelsea or 2 years ago when we were in 12.
But I'll still watch every single Barcelona, Real Madrid. Like it's not like I'm not watching footy. It's just the Prem has nobody is.
The race for the Champions League right now is insane. I don't understand how you can't be watching all of those teams play right now.
Because a lot of them are like watching Chelsea.
You guys are in the Champions
enjoyable.
League. I understand.
Like watching the only team that I think out of those teams that I genuinely enjoy watching, truthfully, like attacking wise, has been Villa. Like every of the other teams is kind of right there in terms of just mid.
I'd rather stab my eyes out than watch 90 minutes of a Nottingham Forest game, bro.
That's what I'm saying.
They're not fun to watch. Nuno has.
What's even crazy? You can say the same thing for Man City now too. City's a miserable watch.
Yeah. Not enjoyable. If Arsenal beat Crystal Palace on Wednesday, Liverpool can button it up against who? Tottenham. We love that. That'll be awesome. They're going to play the kids because that game's before the Thursday night special against Bodo Glimt. So I expect to see a U21 lineup that day, and they are definitely going to do it. So no one's going to be mad about it. Spurs are going to be happy with it. Arsenal's not going to win the league. It's kind of a ipso facto win-win for everyone. So no issues on my part.
If that happens, then Chelsea's giving Liverpool the guard of honor at the bridge.
Need it.
Damn.
Need it. Need that.
Damn.
Need that.
I hate that.
Yeah.
I don't want to give them a guard of honor at Anfield either. But it's done and dusted. No one's giving Arsenal a guard of honor.
God, stop.
That does
I'm not watching the start of the
game. Before we sign off, I think that's all we got for the most part. Blues are logging in here in the next minute and a half, so we are gonna jump to go watch the local lads take on Winnipeg in hockey. If you've not been watching the Italian that race, the Italian race for the top title,
you need to be
do that because it's way better than what we've got going on in England right now. It's an absolute electric factory over there right now. I think there's only a couple points separating Inter and Napoli. I'm pulling it up now so I don't watch it.
They're tied.
They're tied.
And if they tie, they have to play a game that decides.
So how it is who's ever got the most goal difference is at home in that one game. So like right now, I think Inter technically is like plus 40 or plus
40.
Yeah. And then so the game would be at Inter. So Napoli would have to travel to Inter for a one game. Winner wins the title game.
Which would be sick.
It would be electric. But I mean, think about the fact that like Inter have that going on in the Champions League.
Inter have to play Roma still.
They have a tough schedule. They have a tough
yeah.
schedule. I was looking.
They're going to be tested.
Napoli play Torino. I'm just trying to get all of these here. Inter play Hellas Verona. It's not that a big of a deal.
Napoli have a much easier schedule.
Napoli play Lecce. Yeah, that's gonna be so electric. And on the final day, even man, they do a championship Sunday just like England does. We've got Napoli and Genoa, and Torino and Inter. So 3 games each to see what happens there. I'm personally wholeheartedly rooting for a 1-game playoff because that's an electric factory.
That's the us.
That is the American in us. I love drama, especially when I have no dog in any of that fight. If anything, I've been supporting AC Milan this year, which feels a whole lot like supporting Tottenham. So, not fun. But that wraps this week. Thanks, lads, for hopping on. As always, follow us on the socials, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. We didn't really talk about the refereeing in St. Louis City, but I was spouting about it on Twitter. So if you caught any of that, I may sign up myself.
Bro,
just throw my hat in the ring.
Phil Neville in his post game talked shit on MLS refereeing for like 5 minutes. If you listen to it, he was like, "It's just they want it. What do you call them? The Kings or something, or the Stars of the Show or something?"
The Stars of the Show.
I'd be that guy that like they'd ask me, "Why are you refereeing?" Because everyone sucks.
Because I actually feel like I can help bring the standard up here a little bit. Every Monday morning, I do a little wrap up of some of the MLS games, and week after week, egregious decisions left and right. So we'll leave you with that. Thanks for tapping into the Mecca of Banter, and lads, we'll see you next week.
Cheers.
Cheers.
See you.